Missing someone, love with all your heart. Missing someone, love with heart.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I'm going to show you how I like to retouch basically a basic highlight for a lot of my clients. We are going to be doing like a gray toner at the very end. So essentially she just wants to be as silver as possible. This is probably like one of my most requested colors from a lot of my clients. So I'm going to share you my tips and tricks on how to formulate a perfect silver so that it fades really pretty, and then how my clients are able to maintain their silver and grays at home in between root touch-ups. So I'm going to start off with highlighting her roots, and this client usually sees me every 4 months for like a retouch. Now every time this client comes into me, we do cut her hair, and I've already chopped most of her hair before the color, and then after the color is all done, that's when I like to do the full haircut. I just like to cut off the bulk in the beginning. But here you can see I'm pretty much just foiling at the nape and taking like an outline section around the hairline here. This way, if she ever puts her hair up or like in a low bun, she has a lot of color that's kind of all around her head. So normally for any type of silvers or grays like this, I usually recommend my clients to come in about 10 to 12 weeks. But this specific client, her hair lifts really well and I never really have an issue. So every so often I will do a weave pattern where it really gets her nice and light, and then touch-up appointments after that will just be really just blending her roots. So in this appointment, it's been a while since we've really tried to get everything nice and light and solid on the bottom because we've been just maintaining the roots and blending that out. So I'm going to show you how I like to add more brightness throughout the mids and ends while blending the root as well. So I'm going in with the Schwarzkopf Blonde Me Lightener, and my first bowl is going to be a bowl of equal parts of 6 volume and 20 volume, and then for the rest of the head I'm just going to go in with 20 volume. So here I already did 2 outlined pieces to kind of cover the hairline around the nape of the neck, and now I'm just taking horizontal sections in the center up the head. And during this part, what I'm doing is I'm trying to see where a lot of that negative space that I've been leaving out all of her previous appointments are. So if I see that there's a big space or section that has a lot of dark, such as these back parts here that I just left intentionally her last appointments, I'm going in and pretty much just slicing them. And so this appointment, by slicing them, I'm getting these ends nice and solid. And so I'll do this for her every so often when I feel like her ends are starting to get a little bit too dimensional. And then I only have to do it every so often because once I get everything nice and light and solid, then I just have to really worry about blending the root and not so much lightening the ends. This also varies on how often like a client will come in. So if a client comes in pretty often, like around 10 to 12 weeks, I would probably do this spaced out even further out. But since this client, she waits about 4 months to come in, I probably do this to her every other appointment just to make sure that her ends stay nice and solid. And my sectioning on these are, I'm still pretty much going up about 1/2 inch up the head. And I'm trying to take as many slices as I can as possible, especially in this back area here where there's a lot of dimension, and I'm making sure that I'm picking out any previously lightened ends just to kind of maintain the integrity of her hair. My weaves are never like baby lights on hair that's this dark. I usually will do like a medium-sized weave so that it's easy for me to pick out and see when I retouch it. So usually when I switch up my developer and bump it up is usually kind of when I hit the mid-back area of her head, a little bit below the occipital. This way anything below that, since I started there, doesn't process too fast compared to the rest of the foils around the head. So I am pretty much going to continue this pattern throughout the center of her whole head, and depending on each section, as I get closer towards the top, I will start to alternate doing a weave or a tease depending on how much negative space there is. If I feel like there is a section that has a lot of dark, then I will try to just carefully weave out the lightened end and try to make that a solid slice, and then everything kind of like around the crown area or where she kind of parts her hair, you'll see I'll start to more so weave it, because there I usually weave a little bit closer together and there's not as much negative space as there is in the back. So here, as I'm pretty much weaving the top section of her head, this is where you will see most of the blend and a lot of the color, because this is where she parts her hair. My weaves do get a bit smaller and they're still on the medium size to small side. I wouldn't consider these baby lights because it's very easy for me to kind of pick them out. And when I do this top section, I try to pick out all of the dark that I left out last time here. And this just makes it super fast and easy for me to make sure that I'm not overlapping and keeping the ends nice and solid. So a lot of times when I do a retouch on her, that's what I'm normally doing on the roots, is picking out all the dark that I left out last time to maintain that nice solid end look. And I generally will probably do the same sectioning on most of my clients, only because this makes it really easy for me to pick it out. When I'm doing like 3 to 4 foils a day, it makes it go by a lot quicker if everyone has a very similar sectioning pattern, but I can always change up the look depending on how we tone or how spaced out they are. So usually I will do this center parting and connect the front and the back by doing the sides above the ear. So even though this client kind of waits about 4 months to get her roots done, I really wouldn't recommend any of my clients waiting any longer if they're trying to go for a color like this. For instance, like if a client wanted to be a little bit more solid or have something a lot more platinum and silvery, I would definitely not recommend waiting this long, because waiting this long leaves a lot of dimension, especially if you're like a level 5 and below. Waiting that 4 months and letting your roots grow out leaves a lot of dimension in the color and can take away from the lightness of the highlights. So if you're wanting to maintain like a really light silver or something that just has a lot more color and less dimensional, I normally recommend my clients to come in between 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the look that they're going for and what their goals are. So here I am touching up her front money piece area, and my client here, she has bangs that we do, and so I pretty much do like a baby light or a small very small weave on this top part all the way up to where her bangs end, and then continue the regular medium-sized weave with more dimension in between as I reach the other end of the mohawk section. So now I'm going to connect the rest. So I do about 2 hairline foils right at the front to kind of create that nice bold money piece section, and then I'll generally do a weave outline section right above the ear just to kind of connect everything together. And then everything after that, as I finish up the side, I do use the same amount of sectioning space that I did in the back on the sides here. So I'll go up and just do like a medium-sized weave about a 1/2 inch away from each other, and these weaves can either be solid like a slice or can be like a medium-sized weave depending on how much dark there is, so that I can create that nice solid end. So this is what my client's foils look like once they were ready. We lightened her to a very clean level 9 and 10. I would say she looks really pretty. I never really have an issue lightening her hair, and her hair always feels extremely healthy after, considering how light she gets and that we cut it every time that she colors it. Now, regardless of whatever color that we ever do on her, every time she comes in, we kind of do something a little bit different, but I generally like to lift her this light so that it fades out really pretty and she's able to kind of enjoy the fade of whatever color that we're doing. So today you can see she kind of has like pink ends from the last color that we did. So 2 color appointments ago, she was like at a blue and it faded to a green. So the appointment prior to this one, we did pyro, which is a really deep semi-permanent red on top of it to kind of cancel out the green, and it honestly faded out so pretty. Her ends were still kind of that pinkish color from the deep red that faded out, and her gold today, since it's going to be like more of a silver, I wasn't sure how light her ends were going to get or how much of the pink was going to come out. So I let her know that we might be able to just do like a gray tone instead, just in case it didn't tone out all the way. So for her toners, I'm going to be using the Pulp Riot Rapid Toners, and I had my assistant Jen put this on. So the formulation is like probably my go-to for any type of gray tone is using the silver and violet combination. And what I'll do is I'll probably do like about 30 grams of violet to 20 grams of silver. This is going to create a really beautiful smoky violet color, and I generally, if a client wants to be gray, I usually talk them into doing more of a violet gray, because that 9 times out of 10 is going to fade the best. I never really have the best of luck doing a gray that is more on the blue side, because those tend to fade super green in my opinion, and a lot of times clients do complain and don't love the green. So if a client ever wants to do more of a blue silver or anything that's not more on the violet side, I always let them know that there's a chance that it might fade green. And usually when I say that, clients are more gravitating towards doing the violet gray, and it's because as the toner fades out, the violet helps cancel out a lot of the underlying pigment, which is that yellow tone, so they're able to fade out really pretty with the violet gray. So again, the formulation was the Pulp Riot Rapid Toners. I did 30 grams violet to 20 grams silver, and then I mixed that 1 to 2 with 6 volume. So my assistant Jen put it on the root first. I told her to do about 1 inch of the root, and then apply all over, and then apply to the mid, and then brush it out. So what that's going to do is wherever her blonde retouches, which is about I would say it was like 3 inches from the root, we're toning that first with the formulation and then letting it sit and brushing it through the ends. So by doing that, it kind of dilutes the toner formulation to where I don't have to really mix up a lighter toner for the ends, but it kind of smudges through the mids and ends a little bit and tones it as well. A little pro tip about using the Pulp Riot Rapid Toners is that they do work extremely fast, so you have to apply it pretty quickly. I would say they're meant to process, I think, up to like 20 minutes, but you do start seeing that it starts toning in like minutes of applying. So that's why I love it so much, because when I'm toning a client and I need something super quick, I love using it, and it gives me the most beautiful grays and silvers, and it has amazing pigment. The other tip is, because it processes so fast, sometimes it can bump the base. So what I like to do is I like to pre-mix my color and let it sit out for a few minutes before applying it. So this is gonna like air out the color essentially, so that it's not as strong, so it doesn't bump the virgin hair. So once Jen was pretty much done applying the color and brushing it out and everything was pretty nicely toned, we let it sit on for about like 7 to 10 minutes and then washed it. Alrighty guys, here is the finished look. You can see how nice and violety gray this is. I feel like this is going to fade out really pretty, and she was super stoked and happy. We haven't done this exact color on her before, but she absolutely loved it. Even though it's not totally silver, it's more of like a violet gray. I feel like this is going to fade into a really pretty silver anyways, and she'll really enjoy it until her next color. Another thing that I want to mention real quick is you can see that we only used one formulation throughout her whole head, but by applying it to the root, it kind of gave her like a bit of a shadow root effect because the toner was able to sit on there longer, and then the ends didn't really have too much toner on them. We just kind of brushed the residual toner from the mid to kind of glide over the ends, and it did kind of tone it the ends as well. So all my client has to do now is just go home and wash once a week with cold water, and I usually tell my clients who have this specific color to wash with the Pulpurite Barcelona purple shampoo and then use the Belfast purple conditioner as well to kind of maintain that nice gray look. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.